Hi everyone, I hope you've seen the previous video on synopsis of chapter 1 of plus 1 syllabi, business, trade and commerce. Today we are doing one important aspect which has been added into the plus 1 syllabi, that is talking about trade and commerce of India and its history, how the evolution happened. Okay, so the first thing we are going to talk about is for any country or any nation, the economic and commercial activities depend on its physical environment, how things move around. So in India, in the ancient times, what we had, economic and commercial evolution of a land depends upon its physical environment. So first we talk about trade, right? Second we talk about commerce, and then what kind of goods were being traded, and then what were the regulations of trade. So once I talk about trade, there were three routes which were prime at that time. One was a Silk Route, because silk was traded in this route, that is why it was known as Silk Route, and it included China, India, Persia, Arabia, Greek and Rome. Second was maritime route. This was linked, it actually linked the east and the west by sea. So that is why it was known as maritime. Maritime means on water, by water. Spice route, that was used for trade of spices. That is why it was known as spice route. So these three type of trade routes were at that time very prevalent. Now, these facilitated domestic as well as international trade. Next, we come to commerce. Now, there were commercial cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, which you already read in your 10th standard. And they were, moreover, apart from Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, we had trade relations with Mesopotamia. So, there were commercial links with Mesopotamia also. Okay, the kind of goods which were being traded at that time were gold, silver, copper, gemstones, beads, etc. There were many precious metal also, different types of precious stones also. So many things were being traded at that time. Trade regulations. What kind of trade regulations were prevalent in the ancient times? See, everything was very carefully planned. See, different type of coins were at that time initiated. So in ancient times, there came a time when metal coins were being used. How and when? We'll just explain it to you. And there was proper weighing practices. Weights and measures were used. So a kind of a barter system was being removed away from the whole trade and commerce system of India. This is your first question. Question number 1, we are talking about trade and commerce of India, its history. Question number 1. So the next question is indigenous banking system. Now, when we talk about economic life of any country or any nation, we need to see that what kind of financial system is prevailing there. So at that time, in India, the barter system was replaced by some kind of monetary system which varied from kingdom to kingdom or city to city or town to town. The value of coin was different as per the king in power at that time. So as economic life progressed, metals began to supplement other commodities, like barter system was replaced. Money served as a medium of exchange. Metallic money was introduced. So there was introduction of metallic money. So next we have documents to trade. What kind of documents to trade were there? There was hundi, chitti and letter of credit. Now hundi and chitti was used within the boundaries of the country, but letter of credit was used for foreign trade. Right? We'll do all these terms when we come to the different types of documents and different type of documents related to trade. This would be done in elaboration later on. Bankers and saints were there. These bankers and saints used to keep some precious metals or things as a kind of security, and then used to lend money to people to carry on their business and trade. So there were individuals who took deposits for lending purpose. So these were the deposits for the securities which they took for lending purpose. These were known as bankers and saints. Third question is agriculture and domestication. So in agriculture and domestication in India that time, the climatic conditions were very good. So people used to grow somewhere around 2 to 3 crops a year. So they were into farming. That is the first thing. Farming. Then second was weaving of cotton. Next was dyeing fabrics. People used to wear colored clothes. Masonry, buildings and houses were there. Though kacha houses, but then there were houses were being built. And then the kings used to live in forts. So of course those were also built. Then manufacturing of goods was there. Then handicrafts. We have found so many things from the archaeological sites. We have found pottery, earthenwares, and then other items of jute and bronze sculptures. So there was handicraft also prevailing at that time. Now, Question number 4 talks about transport. What was the transport mode of transport, or how people used to do traveling or otherwise commercial activities? So there was land and water transport. When you talk about land, that is through road. There was northern route. Northern route was from Bengal to Taxila. Then from south, it was from south to east west also was a land route. Then we have water route. Water route was maritime trade, that was a global trade route. And then there was Malabar coast. In Malabar coast, there was a port which is by the name of Muziris, and this was a link within Roman Empire, from where we usually used to trade in black gold, that is pepper, at that time. So there were two modes of transportation majorly for doing trade or commercial activities. One was land, the other was water. Next question is on workshops. Workshop like what? We had karkhanas. Karkhanas had they used to deal in skilled artisans who used to actually weave cotton. So they were the people who used to do embroidery and all those things. Second, apprenticeship training system, that was within the family. It was passed on from one generation to another. So people were trained there within the family, and then they used to perform particular kind of skill. So apprenticeship training, family based trade, and that was skill and training system. Then skills were passed on from generations to generation. This was the way of working on workshop. So we have done here 5 questions. First question is on history of trade and commerce. Second question is on indigenous banking system. Third question is on agriculture and domestication. Fourth question is on transport. Fifth question is on workshop. Okay, we have just done question number 1 to 5. This is a continuation of question number 4. What exactly is continuing out here? I covered the ancient times where we talked about the transportation system by land and water. So for land, we used a northern route, that is from Bengal to Texla, then from south to east to west. In water, we used maritime trade, that was a global trade way, and then Malabar coast, where Muziris was the major port, and the trade link was carried on through with the Roman Empire for black gold, that is pepper. Now, by 15th century, Calicut was visited by Chinese ship, that was also, and it was discovered by Vasco da Gama. Also, Coromandel coast became the major port by 17th century, and textiles were the principal export items at that time. Okay, question number 6, trading communities. Merchants and the region they belong to. Punjabi and Multani were in northern region. Bhatts were in Gujarat and Rajasthan. Mahajan in western India. Chhat in south. Nagar Seth in urban centers like Ahmedabad. Then Vaid, Hakim, Mullah, Vakil, they were in all the areas, complete India. Next question, question number 7 talks about merchant corporation, and the merchant corporation which was prevailing at that time was known as guild. Now, the merchant community derived power and prestige from guild. What were guilds? Guilds were autonomous. Autonomous means independent corporations formed to protect the interest of the traders. What were these guilds having? This is all written about the guild. Okay. These organizations operated formally. They were total formal organization with professional code of conduct. So we are talking about the autonomous corporations. They were known as guilds. Then these organizations operated formally. They were total formal structure. Then they had their own rules and regulation. Like I told you, they had professional code of conduct. In guilds का अपना ही code of conduct था. यहाँ तक कि the kings used to listen to the chief of the guild. So even the king had to respect the corporations. The guild chief dealt directly with the king. Guild chief was responsible to settle market toll taxes. जैसे अब होते तब भी toll हुआ करता था. Guild merchants acted as custodians of religious interests. So they were the people who used to take care of religious boundaries or religious interests, because they used to collect donations for temples and all other places in forms of different taxes. So what kind of revenues were the guild people earning? The revenue generation. Now if that is question number 7, we can say question number 7A is this, question number 7B is this, and question number 7C is this. Question number 7C says, what was kind of revenue was generated by guilds? So they generated octroi, that is from the imported articles. It was either in cash or kind. Then they had custom duties, that was a tariff which was collected. They collected ferry tax, ferry was water for bringing people, men, material, cattle, carts, etc. Then there was labor tax collected by the local bodies from the labor, right? There was corporate tax that is for used for building the temples and for making the donations. So these were the revenue, these were the ways or modes of revenue generation of the guild. Okay, next we come to question number 8. We are talking about role of intermediaries. Now, intermediaries are the brokers or the people who play very important role in trade and commerce. At that time, we had Jagat Seth, bankers, and commercial and industrial banks. What role was played by Jagat Seth, bankers, and in commercial and industrial banks? One, they helped in foreign trade as intermediary. They helped in carrying on the credit transaction. We talked about letter of credit also, and hundi and chitti we're going to explain later on. Then there were loans and advances that were given by these Jagat Seths as well as Nagar Seths and those bankers which we talked about. Then there was favorable balance of payment. Why there was favorable balance of payment? Because these three parties initiated the trade and commerce. So balance of payment and trade was very, very positive. And then indigenous banking system was developed. Now, the intermediaries played very prominent role. They provided financial security, and very large share of silver bullion moved to Asia, especially to India, all thanks to the three major intermediaries, Jagat Seth, bankers, as well as commercial and industrial banking. Okay, next question is hundi, then is chitti, and then is letter of credit and the types of hundi. Now, I'll tell what is hundi. When we talk about hundi, we're talking about bill of exchange. You'll be doing this term in your accountancy or must have done this term in your accountancy. There are three parties to bill of exchange: drawer, drawee, and pay. A seller, suppose A sells goods to B, so A sells goods to B and B buys the good. But B doesn't have money and tells the seller that I don't have any money. So the seller says, never mind, I'll write a bill of exchange for you. You accept it, sign it, give it back to me. After some time, you make the payment. Okay, this is the unconditional order paid after some time, and this is what is known as bill of exchange. When it is drawn in local language, it is known as hundi. This is the present day definition, and this was the same definition at that ancient time. So present day bill of exchange is known as hundi, or was known as hundi at that time. Let's read through. Hundi is an unconditional order in writing made by a person directing another to pay a certain sum of money. So usually who asks to pay a sum of money? The seller, because buyer says, I don't have money right now, I'll pay you later on, to a person named in the order. Now, here we have features. It's an instrument of exchange. Yes, you can exchange it. Why? Because you get goods, and in return of that, you agree to pay a sum of money. So that is bill of exchange. Involved a contract. Hundi used to involve a contract, written agreement. Unconditional order, there are no conditions attached except for the condition levied. It is negotiable. You can easily, it can be endorsed also, negotiated also, and you can just exchange with someone or negotiate in terms of that you get the bill of exchange back, and you once you get the money, you give the bill of exchange back to the drawee. Now, what is a chitti? Chitti is a small note such as pass or voucher slip. आप जो चिट्ठी, जो पर्चा अपने पेपर में चीटिंग के लिए ले जाते हो, जब वैसा ही पर्चा आप पैसों के लेन देन के लिए करते हो, उसको चिट्ठी कहा जाता है. Letter of credit. What is a letter of credit? It's a document of foreign trade, guarantee of payment by the importer's bank to the exporter. इंपोर्टर का बैंक एक्सपोर्टर के बैंक को वादा करता है कि इन केस इंपोर्टर नहीं पे कर पाया तो हम पे करेंगे. ऐसे वाले टर्म को लेटर ऑफ क्रेडिट कहते हैं. उस समय वो जगत सेट्स, नगर सेट्स, बैंकर्स थे ना, कमर्शियल बैंकर्स वगैरह, वो सारे ये प्रॉमिस करते थे. तो ये फॉरेन ट्रेड में उस समय ये इंस्ट्रूमेंट यूज किया जाता था. नाउ we come to the next question. This is question number 9. This is question number 10. This is question number 11. Very important question. Question number 12. Types of hundis. Now there are two types of hundis. One is darshani and the other is mudati. Darshani is at sight. आपने हुंडी दिखाई, आपको पेमेंट मिल जाएगी. Mudati is paid on particular time or after some time. This is time bound. Okay. Mudati is time bound. We'll start with name of hundi and then the function it performs. So first is dhani jog. It is payable to any person. There is no liability, payment over a fixed term. अगर आपने कहा है कि फिक्स टर्म बाद आपको दिखा देंगे तो आपको पैसे मिल जाएंगे, सो दैट्स धनी जोग. फरमान जोग, मेड पेबल टू ऑर्डर फॉलोज फिक्स टर्म. पेबल टू ऑर्डर जिसने जिस समय देना है फिक्स टर्म के लिए, यूजुअली जो बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज होता है वो 3 महीने के लिए, 3 मंथ्स के लिए होता है, तो उस फिक्स टर्म के बाद आप जैसे ही फरमान जोग दिखाएंगे पैसे मिल जाएंगे. साजो, पेबल टू स्पेसिफाइड पर्सन, समवन हु इज रिस्पेक्टेबल, कोई बहुत इज्जतदार आदमी है. लाइबिलिटी ओवर हु रिसीव द पेमेंट, और लाइबिलिटी इज ओवर द वन हु रिसीव्स द पेमेंट. देखो हम जब ये सारी तरह की दर्शनीय हुंडी की बात कर रहे हैं ना, इनको एट साइड जैसे आप दिखाते हैं उसी के हिसाब से ट्रांजेक्शन्स होती हैं. देन देखनहार, पेबल टू बेयरर, जिसके हाथ में, बेयरर मतलब अगर आपको याद हो आपने 10th में 2 तरह के चेक करे थे, बेयरर और क्रॉस चेक. बेयर पेबल एट द काउंटर, तो आपने जैसे दिखाई वैसे ही आपको पैसे मिल जाएंगे. ये पेबल टू बेयरर उसी तरह का देखनहार इज सेम. Next type of hundi is mudati. They are almost the same. Dhani jog is here, Farman jog is here, but here Zokhmi is here. Now this is payable after some time. Dhani jog में payable to any person, किसी को भी पे कर सकते हैं. No liability over who receives payment, हमारी कोई liability नहीं है, लेकिन payment over a fixed term. Fixed term में payment कहेंगे हम. अगर आपको 3 महीने का टाइम दे रहे हैं, एक्चुअली क्या होता था, आप अपनी हुंडी को किसी को एंडोर्स भी कर सकते थे. मान लो आपने मुझे हुंडी दी, मैंने आपसे गुड्स का ट्रांजेक्शन हुआ, हुंडी मिली मुझे, तो मेरे पास अगर हुंडी है और मैं सेलर हूँ गुड्स की और मैंने किसी और की पेमेंट करनी है, तो मैं वो हुंडी ट्रांसफ़र कर सकती थी आसानी से. सो दैट इज़ वाई कि कोई भी पर्सन ले सकता था. ठीक है. फरमान जोग, मेड पेबल टू ऑर्डर, जिसको नाम की है उसी को ही मिलेगी, और ये फिक्स टर्म के लिए थी. और नेक्स्ट थी जोखमी. जोखमी इज़ लाइक टू डू विद द टेकिंग रिस्क. ठीक है. ड्रॉन अगेंस्ट डिस्पैच गुड्स, जो गुड्स आपने भेजे हैं. इफ गुड्स आर लॉस्ट इन ट्रांजेक्ट, द ड्रॉअर और होल्डर बेयर्स द कॉस्ट, ड्रॉई बेयर्स नो लाइबिलिटी. मतलब जिसके पास है जोखमी हुंडी वो बेयर करेगा लॉस. ड्रॉई जिसने बोला है कि हाँ भाई इसके पैसे मैंने देने, वो कोई लॉस नहीं बेयर करेगा, क्योंकि बिल ऑफ एक्सचेंज अब आपके पास है लॉस इन ट्रांजेक्ट के टाइम पे. ठीक है. ये हो गए टाइप्स ऑफ हुंडी. नेक्स्ट आते हैं हम, एक छोटा सा टॉपिक है, व्हाट वर द आइटम्स. नाउ दिस वी हैव डन इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 12. दिस इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 13. क्वेश्चन नंबर 14, क्या क्या इम्पोर्ट आइटम्स थे उस टाइम पे. हॉर्सेज, एनिमल, चाइनीज सिल्क, फ्लैक्स, लिनन, वाइन, गोल्ड, सिल्वर, टिन, कॉपर, लेड एट्सेट्रा. और ये क्वेश्चन नंबर 15 है. ये आपके अगेन व्हाट डज इट टॉक अबाउट. एक्सपोर्ट आइटम क्या थे. वीट, शुगर, इंडिगो, ओपियम, कॉटन, पैरट, लाइव एनिमल्स, सेसमे ऑयल, पर्ल्स, क्रिस्टल्स, एट्सेट्रा. सो दीज आर द थिंग्स विच वर डेल्ट एट दैट टाइम. Okay, next we come to question number 16. The question number 16 talks about various cities and towns, what exclusive feature they had, they performed at that time, and the trade items, whether it was exported or imported. So first we start with is Patliputra. It was a commercial town and there was more of export of stones. Next, Peshawar, where commercial transaction between India, China, Rome was conducted in the 1st century AD, and export of wool and import of horse was what was being traded. Then Taxila, major trade route between India and Central Asia. Then here it was known for education and it was a Buddhist center of learning, that is Taxila University. Indraprastha, it was known as Royal Road. We were not dealing in anything out here with the import and export. Mathura was emporium of trade, so all whatever could be exported or imported, all was being dealt out here. Varanasi was placed on Gangetic route, still it is there near river Ganga. Gold, silk cloth and sandalwood was being traded out there. Mithila had a sea route and trade. It was a trading center with China and Iran. Then Ujjain traded with Taxila and Peshawar, where agate and muslin cloth and agate stone was being dealt with. Surat was emporium of western trade, also known for Surat Hundi. Hundis we did just now, document of or instrument of trade. Then it basically traded item were textiles, gold zari and border. Gold zari border. This was gold zari border, what kings and queens used to wear with broad borders, the same gold zari. Then Kanchi export was being done to China through sea route, and we here what we imported were pearls and glasses, and what we exported were gold and silk. And next, Madura, city of Pandyas. Roman purchased pearls out here. So basically, we were dealing with these people who were purchasing pearls out here. Then Bruges was seat of commerce, and we did not do anything out here. There was no single type of trade. We were trading into a lot of items. So a lot of things were being continuously exported, imported. So we cannot say that any single item was there. A lot of trade and commerce was happening out here. Trade and commerce was happening out here. Okay. Then we have Kaveri Patta, scientific construction city, loading and unloading of goods. It was headquarter for many foreign traders like Malaysia, China and Indonesia. Perfume, cosmetics, silk, wool, corals, shipbuilding, scents, etc. were being dealt here. Tamlipiti was the greatest port of sea and land, and again, since it was a port, a lot of trade and commerce used to happen. So where there was not any particular item being traded, total commercial activities were taking place, those places have been left, that there were no particular items, or on a very big level trade was being done. Question number 16. Next we come to question number 17. Position of India subcontinent in world economy from 1st century till date. I just briefed it out for you in a flowchart form. From 1st to 7th century, it was called Swanbhumi or Swandeep. India was known as Soni Ki Chidiya, Swandeep, Swanbhumi. 11th to 17th century, writers have talked about prosperity of India like Megasthenes, Fahen, Hunsang, Al-Biruni, Ibn Battuta. All these people talked about the prosperity of India, how rich India was, how united India was, how beautiful India was. Then pre-colonial period, again the prosperity continued. We were still a prosperous state, but that some kind of fragmentation of kingdoms was happening. People were not so united, but still it was one of the prosperous state. Then, so mid 18th century, British Empire took over, and from 18th century to 20th century till independence, we know what we went through, the way the Britishers treated us. Ours was an agrarian economy, but still the kings were thrown out of the kingdoms. Princely states were taken up by them. British rule had actually led India to extreme poverty. We knew the artisans and all those workers, skilled workers, everybody, there was so much of agitation happening in India. And then came the time of independence, that is 20th century, 1947. At that time, when we got our independence, we started making 5-year plans, we started making economic policies. But again, since we had just got independence, we were not up to the mark because there was population explosion, there was inflation, we did not have enough infrastructure, public sector was not keen to invest, private sector was not at all keen to invest. Public sector was forced, since our economy was a mixed economy, so public sector had to take initiative in infrastructure, but expanding on such a large scale was not possible. So it took us some time to get over the independence era time to do with the things. By 1991, the economy was in a real crisis. So there came a suggestion of LPG, liberalization, privatization, globalization. In liberalization, all the industries which were under licensing, government, public sector licensing, were delicensed. Private sector, all public sector, not all major public sector companies were sold. The shares of major public sector companies were sold to private sector. And with globalization, our economy was being attached to the world economy. The Indian economy was being attached to the world economy. So these policies were followed by 91, and from 91 till date we are trying to take advantage. Foreign companies have come up with foreign direct investment. We have multinationals. We are trying to do joint ventures. We are trying to be multi-product companies. We are trying to expand and go and be multinationals and invest in companies abroad. So this all is happening. Till date, we have a criteria that by 2020 we are going to make in India as our prerogative, and India is going to be a digital India, totally based on digitalization. So this completely finishes off your first chapter. I hope you learn the history, trade and commerce, and you enjoy this video. And after this video, I just had to say, wow. So have a good time.